What is the expected price prediction for Bitcoin in 2025? It's somewhere between 150 to 250,000 USD. You can buy up Bitcoin and basically never sell it. People are going to lose a shit ton of money. More people are going to lose than ever before in 2025. The banks can now hold Bitcoin in the bank, but without having to have the cash to back it up. This is massive. This is massive for Bitcoin. If you hold Bitcoin for a minimum of 4 years, you will always be in the green. I'm Matthew Fraser, and this is Crypto Collective. After making millions with Amazon and e-commerce, I realized that if I was starting again today, crypto would be my first choice. I'm here to help you take your first steps and build real wealth. Ready to set yourself up for life? Let's go. Hey guys, welcome to Crypto Collective. My name is Matthew Fraser. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about my Bitcoin predictions for 2025. Let's get into it. Well, the first thing is going to be what everyone wants to know about, which is what is the expected price prediction for Bitcoin in 2025? And there's a range of different numbers out there, but I'll tell you broadly speaking, the consensus among most of the experts out there, and I don't consider myself the expert in Bitcoin price predicting, but I would say it's somewhere between 150 to 250,000 USD. Now, with that said, there are some people who are also expecting a price prediction of upwards of 500,000 USD, but that's within the next 5 years. So let's see what happens in that space. So regarding price predictions, this is how I would form an analysis and prepare my investments, which is think that everything is long-term, right? So I know a lot of people in 2025, you might be just new getting into the cryptocurrency or Bitcoin space, and you're thinking, what is the price going to be doing this year, okay? I would say don't go by the price prediction of this year as gospel, right? Because what happens if the $150,000 price never comes? So let's just say that you've gotten into the market today and you're expecting a $150,000 price prediction and you're going to sell. But what happens if it only gets to 145,000 USD, right? Then your whole plan of selling is out the window, because what's going to happen is if the top is 145, it's going to come all the way back down to potentially, and history shows this, it could be down to about 70,000 US dollars. Now, the flip side of that, of course, is that it doesn't come back down to $70,000. This could be the super cycle that some people are talking about. Now, why would it be a super cycle? Well, it could be a super cycle because of the absolute mammoth adoption that is happening with Bitcoin right now. Now, unlike any other time in history, Bitcoin is being bought up in record numbers. We've never seen this ever. Now, who's buying it up? Governments, financial institutions, money managers like BlackRock. We've got nation states, we've got companies, and we've got high net wealth individuals who are clamoring over themselves to buy Bitcoin. So if that accelerates just like I think it will, then we may not ever see even a price under $100,000 ever again. And if it gets to $500,000, then the pullback after $500,000 might only be $200,000. So the way to get around this is don't think about what is the price going to be this year, because you may find yourself burnt. I would be having a minimum 4-year plan, because what we found in history is that if you hold Bitcoin for a minimum of 4 years, you will always be in the green, right? Now, I would be taking it one step further and be thinking about holding onto Bitcoin for 5, 10, 15, possibly even 20 years. In fact, for me personally, I'm never selling Bitcoin. I'm holding onto Bitcoin, as I say, I'm holding on for dear life. So the reason why we talk about price increases, 150, 250, $500,000, it's backed by regulatory clarity. Now, this gives people confidence to invest in the market. Now, there's that, and there's also an increase of M2 money supply, which is the printing of money by governments, which puts more liquidity into the marketplace, which ultimately sends not just Bitcoin up, but altcoins and also property and other things in the upward trajectory. And that type of clarity is in place, is happening right before us. So if you have a look at just the US, and the US is a big driver of sentiment in the world. A lot of things revolve around the US. So right now we've got Donald Trump, who has said that he's talking about bringing in a strategic Bitcoin reserve, commonly now known as SBR, Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. And what that means is that the US government will simply buy up Bitcoin to hold in their treasury. Now, because of that, other countries are now looking to the US and thinking, well, if they're going to do it, then we should do it as well. Now, just to clarify, the US is not the first country to do this. El Salvador, amongst two others, Bhutan is another country that is also holding Bitcoin as a treasury. Now, for all we know, there may be also other countries, maybe Russia, maybe China, they may also be holding Bitcoin as a treasury, but we just don't know about it because they're not broadcasting it out to everybody, right? So when the common person like me and you, we're looking at the landscape and we see countries who are buying up Bitcoin, or even El Salvador who's mining their own Bitcoin as well, you got to stand back and think, maybe there's something that we don't know about, right? If they're doing it, then perhaps we should do that as well. We don't want to be the one to be late to the train and in 10 years' time think, you know what, I knew about those countries adopting Bitcoin as a treasury 10 years ago, but I did nothing about it. I just sat on the sidelines. Then you find that in 10 years' time, Bitcoin could be $10 million a coin. So this is why it's an amazing opportunity for people to jump onto Bitcoin now, because US hasn't adopted Bitcoin as a treasury, so you're going to be front running the federal government of the US. Now, what's also happening though in the US is states are trying to front run the federal government. So as of today, there's about 15 states in the US that are either indicated, put into submission to create a law to create their own Bitcoin reserve. That's all happening right now. And so they're trying to front run the federal government. Now, why are they trying to do that? Because they know that if the federal government under Trump comes out with a Bitcoin reserve strategy and gives it a big tick, in other words, implements that as actual policy, not just a thought bubble right now, the Bitcoin price is going to skyrocket, right? It's going to skyrocket. And so the states want to get in before the federal government sends the price up. Now, what's now happening because of that is other countries around the world, they also want to front run the US. These are all positive signs regarding the regulatory framework that's happening. We've also seen some other things as well just recently, the repeal of sub 121, which I'll talk more about that later. So we've also seen some other regulatory things coming in place, which is all being spearheaded by the Trump government in the US, and that is creating a digital asset reserve, also building a sovereign wealth fund. Now, the sovereign wealth fund doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's for anything digital, so cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, it can be other things as well. But all these types of initiatives are all favorable for Bitcoin, and that's why it's so important to get in early. So as a part of one of the regulatory frameworks that's come about is the repeal of SARB 121. Now you're gonna say, Matt, speak in English please, what is SARB 121? SARB 121 was a SEC, which is Securities and Exchange Commission regulation. And that regulation kind of prohibited banks in the US from custodying, which means holding Bitcoin in their own coffers. Now, the reason why was because it didn't say you can't hold it. What the SEC said was, if you do hold Bitcoin for customers, you also have to back it up with dollar amount. So if you had $1 worth of Bitcoin in the bank, the bank then also had to have a further $1 to back up the Bitcoin that they were holding for customers. As much as you probably don't know this, banks don't like holding cash, right? What banks do is they lend out cash. They don't want to have all this money sitting on their balance sheet doing absolutely nothing just for Bitcoin. So now with the repeal of SARB 121, the banks can now hold Bitcoin in the bank, but without having to have the cash to back it up, okay? And in recent days, we've seen Bank of America and also JP Morgan in the US say that they will now put in a framework to custody Bitcoin. This is massive. This is massive for Bitcoin because there's two things that are going to unfold from here. One is that the average consumer trusts banks. Okay, that's the first thing. So people in the West, we don't wake up and think, I wonder if my money is going to be in Westpac today, or are they going to steal it? Like, that's not something that we think about, right? But in other countries like Lebanon, that is something that they do think about. And I'm sure there's other countries too, like Zimbabwe. They wake up in the night and think, is my money still going to be in the bank tomorrow, right? And that's why Bitcoin is so powerful, and that's why a lot of those countries move to Bitcoin. But with the US and other Western countries, they can now hold Bitcoin. So that means that for the average punter, rather than having to custody the Bitcoin yourself and figure all that out, you can simply just go to the bank. You'll probably be able to buy Bitcoin through the bank and they will hold it in the bank. So basically means you could go onto your Bank of America net bank. They'll have your savings account, your home loan, your credit card, and then there'll be another line they'll say Bitcoin. And that's where your Bitcoin will then sit. And that's so powerful because it takes all the rigmarole, but a lot of the custodying issues now holds with the bank rather than yourself, right? So a lot of people are going to like that. The other thing and the other reason why it's going to be so powerful is because now once the banks hold Bitcoin, they will now start lending you money against your Bitcoin, right? Now, let me just say that again. They'll start lending you cash, as in USD, or eventually when it hits Australia, Australian dollars, against your Bitcoin, right? Now, think about that. What it means is that you can buy up Bitcoin and basically never sell it, right? Because you'll always be able to borrow against the Bitcoin. Now, you're going to say, why would I do that? Why not just buy and sell Bitcoin as I need it? The reason why is because Bitcoin is the best asset. It's the best performing asset we've seen over the past at least 1 decade. So the question is, one, why would you want to sell Bitcoin if it's the best performing asset when you could simply borrow Australian dollars, or in this case, US dollars, against your Bitcoin to go and use on other things? The other thing to think about is when you sell Bitcoin, particularly if it's at a profit, you're now up for capital gains tax. And in Australia, there is a capital gains tax on Bitcoin. So by not selling it, you're not paying the tax. The borrowed money you get against the Bitcoin is also not taxed because it's borrowed money. You can then go and use that money for things like buying a house, if buying a house is of something of interest, or buying a car, whatever it is. And you can hold onto your Bitcoin and see its growth all the way into the future. So this repeal of SARB 121 is absolutely massive for Bitcoin. Hey, just quickly, if you're ready to dive deeper into crypto and Bitcoin and build real wealth, join my free crypto collective community. It's where I share exclusive insights and strategies and live discussions to help you succeed, whether you're a beginner or scaling your portfolio. Click on the link in the description and join us today. Now back to the episode. There's no secret if you follow me on Instagram, and that is that I love Trump, okay? And I love what he's doing, especially in the crypto space, amongst other things. But he's the first openly proud crypto president that the Western world has ever seen, right? Certainly the first US president. And that is simply putting in place a standard for all other Western countries to follow. Now, not only is he pro-crypto, but he's also, his family is pro-crypto. His friends are pro-crypto. And that's why he's put in someone like David Sachs, who's in charge. He's like the crypto czar, as they call him. So he's putting together a special committee to look into how to acquire and put in positive regulation around holding and buying and selling of crypto. And of course, when you've got your family who's involved, who understand Bitcoin and how instrumental it's going to be into the future, it can only be positive. Now, I want to just say that one of the things of Trump coming out was recently the Trump coin. There was the Trump coin and the Melania coin, which were both meme coins. And there's been a lot of talk about whether this was good or bad for the crypto space. In my opinion, I think it's good for the crypto space. And I mean good for the crypto space in the sense that, hey, at least we have a president. Now, I'm not saying, first of all, that he was actually building the meme coin himself, right? He has obviously a team of people that are secondary to him who deal with it, who put his name on it, right? But the fact that he's done that just shows that how positive he is towards the crypto space. The other thing is that it will open up the doorway to, I think, other types of celebrities, and Trump is a celebrity. So, for example, we may see other tokenized personal brands such as, Michael Jordan, or we could see famous singers, or we could see actors, or even brands like Nike. They could come out with their own meme coin, and if you want to support that type of person or company, you can buy into the brand to show your support. Now, I just got to come out and say, initially, when the Trump coin came out, I did not buy the Trump coin. And a lot of people were calling me saying, Matt, are you going to buy the Trump coin? I was like, no, I'm not buying the Trump coin. Meanwhile, by the time that people were even calling me, the Trump coin was going down. So it got released, it went up, and then it was coming back down again. Now, my admission today is that I did actually buy some Trump coin, right? I know I bought it, but I did it it's a bit of a hedge. I'm prepared to lose all the money. It was only like $3,000. And so if it goes to zero, then I'm not really going to care. But I did see something interesting about meme coins, and that was that after the initial pump, there's a period where it moves sideways for maybe a year, maybe it's 6 months. But then ultimately, some of these big meme coins, such as Pepe, such as Bonk or 𝗕𝗢𝗘𝗘𝗧𝗘𝗢𝗓, things like that, they actually then go on to do big numbers. Now, I'm not going to tell you the exact numbers, maybe 30, 40 X's from there. So for me, I'm like, hey, I'll throw some money in and just see what happens. And the other thing too is I actually do support Trump, so it's my way of just holding something that's in relation to Trump. Now, the other thing I want to say about Trump is that Trump's company, which I think is called Liberty Finance, holds a number of altcoins and Bitcoin. Now, if you go into their company and see what they're holding, I found it quite interesting. And there was two particular coins that they're holding that I thought, you know what, let's just take a punt on. Obviously, Bitcoin, I already hold that, but these other two altcoins, one was called Athena and one was called Ondo. This is not an endorsement of those particular coins. This is purely gambling, okay? I'm not saying that these are going to do anything. They could go to zero, so do not buy these. In fact, you shouldn't buy these coins. But Athena and Ondo is where I think I put $4,000 in, maybe $4,500 in to each coin. Again, if it goes to zero, it's only the teeniest amount of money compared to my portfolio. It's not going to be a big deal. But my train of thought is, hey, you know, if Trump holds these coins, do your own research, but if Trump holds these coins, maybe there's something behind that, and maybe we might see 20, 40, maybe 1,000x gains, and for me, it's worth taking a punt on. The other prediction for 2025 is that we will see a lot of volatility. It's not going to be a straight line. Let's say it goes to $250,000 this year. It's not going to go up and to the right in a straight line. It's not going to happen. You're going to see dips, and you could see dips of even up to 30%, because history shows, if we look back in the 2021 bull cycle, there was about 4 dips which saw somewhere around 20 to 30% drops each time. And what you've got to be careful of is each time you saw that dip, there were people that thought that was the end of crypto, right? So imagine you bought today at $100,000 USD a coin and it went to 150, but then it dropped back to 30. A lot of people then think, oh my God, this is the end of the world. We need to sell out now. This is doom and gloom. There's other factors that you've got to look at to know whether you're really at the top of the market. Like, is it overheated? I'm going to tell you one little trick that I heard the other day, and that was that if Coinbase becomes the #1 downloaded app on the App Store, then that's a signal that the market could be at the very top. Don't take that to the bank, but that's what I heard. Isn't that an interesting fact though? So when we're talking about dips in the market, I want to give you my strategy because it may be different to your strategy. My strategy is to continue to buy Bitcoin forever into the future. So even if the market this cycle gets to 250,000 and comes down, I'm still going to buy. If the market gets to 250,000 and continues to go up, I'm still going to buy. So I'm looking at this as a 20+ year investment rather than what is it doing in 2025 only. Okay. Now there are some coins, however, in my altcoin portfolio that I am definitely selling. Like there's probably 90% of the altcoins I'm selling back to zero when I think the market is getting too overheated and reaching the top. I'm not going to try and time the exact top. In fact, what I'll probably do is scale out as we go up and make profits into the future. But I can tell you now though, the altcoins as of today are not looking so good. The only altcoin I hold that's even in profit is Solana. And that's because I'm just getting murdered on some of these other altcoins. And I just don't want to sugarcoat it. I don't want to tell you I'm sitting here just making all this money. But I also want to say too that my overall portfolio of altcoins is small compared to my Bitcoin and Solana holdings, okay? So even if my altcoins go to zero altogether, not including Solana and Bitcoin, then I'm not going to be bankrupt, okay? So I know some people when they come into this market, they only buy altcoins because they think that they're going to do better than Bitcoin. What's interesting though is, as we saw over last year, it was actually Bitcoin that outperformed most of the altcoin market. Now, I'm not saying that it was everything. There was some altcoins that did super duper returns, but you've got to be so on the money and know exactly what you're looking at. And it's basically, in my opinion, it's pretty much going to be a fluke if you just happen to find a low cap altcoin that you happen to do 1,000x in last year. So it's very, very difficult. The best strategy for generational wealth, in my opinion, and if you want to make it simple, is just to dollar cost average into Bitcoin into the future, and regardless of the price. And remember, do not sell. So we talk about the Bitcoin price predictions for this year. And what happens is, every time we see a new price, it's going to be a new all-time price. At the moment, it's sitting at about 109,000 USD. The next stop is probably going to be around the $120,000 to $130,000 if we get there. And what we're going to see because of that is more people coming into the market. So there'll be more adoption. And just through human psychology, it's just a fact that when the price goes up, then people want to buy. And then when, of course, it goes backwards, they all freak out, right? And they don't buy. They only wait for it to go up. And this is the actual reverse mentality that you need to have to be a good investor. Today is sitting under the all-time high. So in my opinion, now is a good time to buy. But even if it breaks the $110 mark, $110,000 mark, it would still be a good time to buy if you're looking at Bitcoin as the next 10-year investment. Because in my opinion, by 2030, it's going to get to likely 1 million to 1.5 million USD anyway. So if you have that time frame in mind, today is still a good price. But that's going to be the prediction for this year: mass adoption, not just because of the price point though, but also because of the institutional adoption, the states adoption, the federal government's adoptions in companies, which will all encourage more people to dive into the market. And my last prediction, I've saved the best for last, unfortunately. My last prediction for 2025 is that people are going to lose a shit ton of money. More people are going to lose than ever before in 2025. And you're going to say, but Matt, how is that possible? Because everything is going to go up, Bitcoin's going to go up, probably the altcoins will go up. Well, I think that Bitcoin will go up. However, the reason why we're going to see so many people lose money is because emotions are going to set in. So before, when I talked about you will see 20 or 30% dips through this bull run cycle, people will sell at losses, okay? People won't be able to stomach the decreases that could possibly happen in a day. You could see a 20% drop in Bitcoin in a single day. It has happened before. And people who are new to the market simply won't be able to pull up their socks and put their big boy pants on and just say, look, I'm going to hold on for dear life, right? Because they don't understand the market, okay? And that's why it's so important to get people around you who understand what's happening, who have been through multiple cycles. You can find lots of people online, but if you want to jump into the community, I have a private community you can come and hang out in. Find the link in the bio or in the description at Crypto Collective. It's absolutely free to do, and at least get some support and ask questions as to what is happening in the marketplace. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the predictions of 2025. And remember, do not get shaken out. Hold on to your Bitcoin for dear life. All right, take care. Thanks for tuning in to Crypto Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, the best way to show your support is to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode. You can also find more of me at I'm Matthew Fraser on all social media platforms.